Hi guys, my name is Oluwatobiloba Otun. Some of you may know me as Toby Otun or Dexia's Graphics. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching me from. Today here I'm going to conduct a tutorial for the beginner logo designer challenge, and it's gonna be basically a full-on process on how I come up with all my logo designs and ideas. There are various ways to design a logo, but I'll be showing you how I do it and how I come up with I would like to call them amazing logos. But we're going to be working based off of an imaginary brand. It's not going to be any preconceived brand, not even an old brand I've worked on. It's going to be a fresh brand I'm just working on for the sake of this tutorial. So isn't that wonderful? It's actually a challenge for me, and it's also an opportunity to see how things build from there. So let's discuss exactly what we're going to be talking about, what we're going to be working on today. Logo design entails a lot of nuances that people may not be aware of. It's more of, because even coming up and creating this video, I said I needed to create a new brand. I had to brainstorm. Before I get an idea, I had to pour it out of my head. For real, I was having a hard time because I wouldn't say it's some sort of pressure, but it's what I just needed to do for the sake of those that are joining us and the beginners in the house. So I will be taking you right from the beginning, like conceptualization, creating a brief, because it's important that we have a brief. So let's get right into creating a wonderful logo. See you guys on my PC. Hey guys, welcome to my PC. So as you can see over your screen is the brief, and this is like the basic or the beginning process for logo design. It's important that as a designer you either create some sort of information breakdown for the brand you want to work on. You see, if you do that, it helps you gain perspective, and then it also helps in your overall workflow and output at the end of the project. So for those that don't know how to go about creating a brief, you simply ask some basic questions like, okay, their name, what they do, why do they exist, what solutions do they provide, what are their values, what are their keywords in terms of how they see themselves, then their mission and their vision. Also verify the target audience. Some brands may just want to be for youths, so they want a up, trendy and vibey flow to their design. So all these will help and shape your research process and then your mood boarding. So researching and mood boarding. So researching entails you go on sites that have a lot of material, Instagram, Dribble, Pinterest and Behance. I use Behance specifically because I think I know my way properly around Behance, and I can find brands that I want to find on Behance. So then I save them to my mood board. So Behance already makes it easy for you to get a mood board going, but then you need a mood board in your workflow. So I screenshot or I take note of logos that stand out to me from projects that others have worked on. Simple and modernistic logos, I screenshot them and I include them in my mood board. I also go to Google. Basically here I just feed my eyes on what an alligator should look like. Not that I don't know what an alligator looks like, but you get my point. I just need to get my mind in sync with what the brand thought of when they were selecting their name, even if it's me that selected it. But I also search through the letter G logos on Google. There's a plethora of them, but I just use that to get my eyes. Okay. Not that I'm going to use all these, but I like the fact that my mind, my subconscious is taking note of certain things I may not naturally take note of if I didn't go there. Then I go to Pinterest and I search for sportswear brand. That is where I now look through other designers. This Pinterest is more on the expressive path, as they are not naturally based off of a catalog of design logo designs. It's more of anything that has to do with sportswear brand. Then the more you click and the more you search, the more you find logos and logo designs. So I go through this. Sometimes it can take days, sometimes it takes hours to just do this research phase, but then I begin to collate some ideas that resonates with the direction that the brief provided me. So it's also in this research and moodboarding phase that I begin to look for a color palette that works well with the brand that I want to work on. Here you will see how other brands that are in the same industry as the brand you want to work on use the colors. So here I begin to take note of colors that may stick out, and I create a palette. So I'm going to be creating a very simple color palette here, which I can use the eyedropper to pick out later on as I proceed in my design. So after finishing the moodboarding and research, I begin my sketching. So hey guys, so here is how you develop or you carry out some sketching. It's based off of your research and some keywords from the brief. So as we know, the brand name is Gator, and it's from the word alligator, which these are some words that we need to take out from the brief. Alligator. Reading the brief, it has to be sporty, so sports. Then a sense of power, and it has to be modern or minimalistic. Let's see how we can incorporate all of this into an idea. So basically, obviously the letter we're going to be looking at is letter G. We're going to be creating a lettermark logo. It's going to be an icon that's going to stand for the brand, and that's important. If we look at letter G, then we'll look at how we can incorporate the alligator. So attributes include sharp. That's based off of research on the word alligator. Sharp, strong, bold. So then the alligator is shaped in a way where the jaws can form a triangle. So I usually sketch when I was young, but I wouldn't call myself any better than you. So please don't mind my sketch. This is just a rough concept of what an alligator would look like. So as you can see, this is where I'm going at for the triangle. So we're going to be working with triangular shapes, and this is pretty rushed. So we're going to work with triangular shapes here. Also, let's see, we're going to be trying to form the letter G with this triangle. Now G has a curved back, so let's see how that comes on in the logo. So this is letter G first. This is ideation. This is how you conceptualize a logo based off what you've seen. So there's a letter G here I saw, and I think I can incorporate the concept, but then I will adjust it. So as you can see, now I will rework this alligator shape, but we are not asked to use a visible alligator type logo. It's gonna be modern and minimalistic. So Lacoste has this type of logo. Nike is the swoosh. So we're gonna see how incorporate some of all these logos into the design process. Then the other was Puma. Puma is also has this imagery logo, a vectorized image logo. So let's continue with our sketch for the letter G. And since it's a sports brand, this is concepts. So it's important that you sketch out ideas and then get a concept going. And as we all know, you're not supposed to dwell on one idea. It won't work. One idea would really hurt your creativity. So nothing is set in stone, but just explore. It's important that you explore. This is one. Let's create something with the triangles that we spoke about. Let's see. So there's the curve. So this is 5 minutes. So basically this is just me sketching and conceptualizing. Then let's see how I can combine the triangles. So this is one triangle. Let's not lose that. It's we need something really simple based on sports power. So power, if we're gonna be looking at power, you can get a lightning bolt. Let's open I got this. So this can signify power, and since it's a fitness brand, agility and speed. So you see this. How do we implement it into the brand? Alligator can have some sharpness to it. So alligator. Yeah, we're gonna be researching into alligators. These alligators are fierce animals would continue with the So we'll look at teeth of, let's see how we can bring in these teeth into the equation. Now, the concept is not to make the logo violent or anything, but it's to just give it some character, and we will have tail, some sort of tail. Then crown. We'll have some sort of tail and then the crown. So I don't know how this looks. If it looks like a G, then we'll fine tune. So we'll fine tune again here. I think this idea works. So there's an incorporation of this swoosh into this part of the brand, but then it serves two purposes. It serves as the teeth, tail, or flash, letter G, and then crown or head. So move on to fine tuning. So I think this looks good, but let's see how it forms it, and let's see how it develops on when I transfer it to Adobe Illustrator. So yeah, vectorizing the logo. Funny enough, once I finished that, as I was watching this video again, I saw that the logo actually forms a T in the middle, but then it changed while I was vectorizing. So that is not a problem. So let's get on to vectorizing. So get your PC and then import your sketches. So first thing you need to do is actually take your phone and take a picture of your sketch, and then import the sketches into Adobe Illustrator or this desired software you're using. So how do we vectorize this logo? Vectorizing is a pretty straightforward process. You'll be using at most 4 tools today for this vectorizing process. So first of all, you want to reduce the opacity of the your sketch, and then select the ellipse tool, or you press L on your keyboard. Once you do that, you begin to create some sort of form an outline around the sketch with those tools. So we're using the ellipse tool and then the line tool. The line tool, you can just press the slash on your keyboard, and then you get the line tool. So you form an outline around your sketch. So the reason why you reduce your opacity so that you can see both the sketch and your what you're doing in terms of how you place the outlines around the sketch. So, but make sure each joint is touching one another. Now, how do I explain this? It's if the joints don't touch each other, the next tool you'll be using won't work. So make sure each joint is overlapping, especially the joints that needs overlapping. Now, like I always mentioned, there is nothing set in stone. The idea is not set in stone. So we're just using this to form the basic idea first. Now, after this is formed, we'll be using the shape builder tool. It's called the shape builder tool in Illustrator. Now, I don't know what Corel users use, but you can make some research on that. I have no idea. I used CorelDRAW before, but I've never used CorelDRAW to design a logo, so bear with me. But then this is how you do it on Illustrator. So after you can duplicate the outlines so that you can use that to form your process later on in your presentation. But once you use the shape builder tool, you now select all the lines and the elements, and then use the shape builder tool to select the shapes that are within your sketch. Then you also hold alternate to delete shapes that are outside your sketch. I don't know if that makes sense. So basically, just that's what I'm doing here. I'm holding alternate, and then I'm clicking on the lines that I don't want to show, and then I use the shape builder to select what looks like my logo, and then I change the foreground color to black, and that forms the sketch. So now this is looking very, very, will I say, weird, but then some adjustment needs to be made. I got some feedback from those around me while I was doing this, and someone said it looked like a yacht turned upside down, and another said it looks like a tooth. Now that was the tooth vibe was what I was going for, but then I needed it to also look like a G. So I asked whether it looked like a G, and the feedback I got was it was not looking like a G. So I had to make an adjustment. So I adjusted the tooth part of it to actually intertwine with the crown part of the logo, therefore making it look more like a G and less like a tooth. So that was basically that. In fact, you can see that the formulation of the logo is nothing. It's pretty straightforward, but then it's the conceptualization, the ideation, all the thought process that goes into formulation of the logo is where the work is. So to the type, for the typography I used Montserrat, and it's important that for type and the logo it has to balance. There has to be a balance between the thickness or the width of the type and then the thickness of the logo. If the logo is thick and you use a tiny or thin font, it's not going to work. It's going to have that off balance feel. So it's important that you actually use a font that goes along. So I placed them side by side, and then I think Montserrat seems to match the Gator brand pretty well. So I used Montserrat bold, and also used Montserrat medium or regular for the sportswear underneath. So it's time to either customize the font or do what they call kerning. So you right click and then you create outlines. Once you right click on the font, you create outlines. It converts it automatically to outlines that you can edit. So here you can actually edit the font itself and modify it into whatever you want it to look like. But we're just going to be doing basic kerning. We're not going to create any custom type for this tutorial. So kerning simply means reducing or increasing the space between logos and between characters of a font. So you can use rulers or you can use a shape for this. Now it's important to also note that there are some rules in font and typography that needs to be followed. Now if you look at this Gator, I've tried to kern. If you notice the letter A and the T, I didn't put a kerning space between them as I did with the G and the A and the O and the R. If you look at the Gator, it's still looking very off. That's because between T and O, because of the stem that shoots out, and then the O does not have a rigid body, you do not put the same amount of kerning space as the normal other ones, the other character. So there will be need for me to bring it back into the T in order for it not to look like two separate words. We need it to be coherent and it is visible and easy to read. So, but before I noticed that, I already created the second variation of the logo, which was to see how the font works in that format. Those are the two basic formats that logos usually appear in, depending on the logo also, but those are the two basic formats. More variations will be created later, but this one was just to see how the logo formulates. So that's basically how you create the logo, and it's pretty straightforward. But you see, the most important part of this logo is the research, the moodboarding, and then how you allow your ideas come to life in your sketch. So as you can see, I'm actually going to adjust the O right now. Yes, so it looks more of a word than before. So I think that's basically it for now. So we'll move on to the final stage, which is the finalizing the design and expressing the brand, and also doing a proper presentation for the brand. So see you guys in another page on Illustrator and in Photoshop. Okay guys, welcome to the presentation phase, where we are going to be expressing the brand and using all the color palettes and everything we discovered in our research. So I'll create a workspace, and it's important that you use pixels. Well, not really important, but I use pixels, and I use 2000 by 2000 pixels. Set it to RGB, and then use the specified amount of artboards you want. So that shows that you actually want multiple artboards on your screen, and then 72 ppi is perfect for screen, unless you're going for print. Unless you're going to print, then you use 300 ppi. So in case you're wondering what's all this jargon I'm speaking, ppi means pixels per inch. It's pixels per inch. It shows for a computer image, and 72 ppi is appropriate for screens. And 300 ppi will be used if you want to print out documents, if you want to print out large documents, or even anything print. 300 ppi is appropriate. And then RGB is appropriate for screens because of the color code. That's the color code preferable for screens. If you use CMYK, the colors appear dull for screens, but if you use CMYK for print, the colors appear sharper. So take note of that for those that don't know that. So let's move on to presenting our final design. So I created a mood board, kind of, so those show you what each of those boards or artboards will contain. So first one is basically the logo cover. It's what you can use to call the attention of the client or those viewing your logos. It has to be kind of expressive of the logo and what the brand showcases. So for this, I used somebody working out, since it's a sport brand and fitness and training is also part of sports. So I just used a sportsman and the logo, and also created an outline with the logo. So that is done by just changing the foreground color to the background and toggling at the edge of your screen there, toggling it back and forth. So just follow me through as we go through the process. I would not be saying too much. You can just see how I execute some of these presentations. The goal here is to basically show the first of all, also import your color palette. So my preferred color palette is this lemon green, not the bright one, but it's more of the deep one, lemon green, and black, not the blackest black. Please try and use something that is easy on the eye. Very harsh black is not going to work, especially if the brand wants to even go into actual printing and physical use. It's not going to work. So as you can see, I sampled the color palette, and you can do that using the eyedropper tool. Now naturally I will create a clip mask for the first frame, but when I export it, it's not going to appear like this. It's only going to enclose or encompass the man and the logo. As you can see, when I edit a group. So how do you edit a group? You double click on the group, and then you double left click on the group, and then it takes you into a page where you can edit each component singularly. So each board is already there to show you what exactly should be in that artboard. And if you want to duplicate a file, you just hold alternate, and then you click or you move the file, and then it's duplicated. So basically, just let's go through this process together. If there is a more advanced thing to do in my presentation, I'll talk us through it. This is a variation of the logo, and for this part my laptop recording turned off, so pardon me. I'll have to explain the process for getting this particular variation to you. So to create this circle pattern, you just go to the text tool, and then you look for the drop down menu, long press it. Once you long press on the edge of that text tool, you will see type around path. So you use that to create first of all, you actually draw a circle, and then use the type around path tool to type around the circle. So that's how you create the circular text in Illustrator. So once you double click on the text tool, you will see a drop down menu. So you type on a path tool, select type on a path tool. So that's how I created. Sorry, my recording shut off. So then let's continue with the video. So for this, getting the color codes for a color on that you've sampled or your palette, you can get the color code by just double clicking the foreground color of the image you have selected, or the object you have selected on your workspace. So once you have an object selected, the foreground color will change to that color of that object. So then double click the foreground color, and then copy the code. There's the hex code, there's the CMYK code, and there's the RGB code. The hex code is together. The CMYK code, you have to separate each color. See, it has its own color code. Y, M, K, they have their own color codes. So if you want to go extensive like that, no problem. Then you put them over. Just make sure you present the brand colors in hex format, at least in hex format, so that hexadecimal format, so that they know what color exactly, so there will not be shades of the color. This is for final printing, or when they ask you in a brief to follow a particular color code. So this is what they mean by color code. So when you want to change the color, you type it into the same box that you copied it from. So the next slide is brand pattern, and I'll be creating a brand pattern using a simple technique. I just duplicate a shape or a unique part of the logo, or you may duplicate the logo and then go to object menu and then repeat. So it repeats the pattern multiple times. Then you can adjust the number of times at the values at the top, and also you can expand and decrease the amount of values in a space by increasing the width or the edges of the pattern. That's basically how to create a pattern in Illustrator. It's quite straightforward and easy. So that's that. Then you don't need to do a clip mask, you just reduce it to fit the box for your presentation. So that's that for the presentation. So now we'll be moving to Photoshop, where we'll have to create a more expressive brand presentation and brand and logo usage. See you guys in Photoshop. Okay, so guys, this is where we'll be showing the functionality of the logo and creating a consistent feel for a brand. So I'll be using some techniques here which I think might help some people. So as you can see, this is a jacket hoodie that is basically color red. So in order to change that color red, you create a hue and saturation layer over the jacket and then adjust the reds until it begins to look like the lemon green color. Then after that, you can import the logo and just place it over the jacket hoodie. Then after that, you create the next mockup, which is a strap bag. Then you simply basically in order to properly get a good feel for a mockup and logo appearance, you can't just place the logo on the mockup like that without doing some adjustment. So when you place the mockup on the object or the image that you want to use, and I'm saying this because most people always wait for mockup sites or free mockups or download mockups. You can use any image as a mockup. Just play around with the blend modes. So for this one, you can play around with the opacity also. So for the strap bag, I just played around with the blend mode, and then I used soft lights to exaggerate some realism. You understand? So, and I duplicated the layer multiple times so that the color comes out more, but then with the texture of the material coming through. So play around with blend modes, discover how to use many of all these tools in Photoshop. There are many ways to achieve a lot of things in Photoshop, but find your way and be better for it. You understand? So the more you try to find things, the better you get at understanding your software. So then the next mockup is basically a mockup I downloaded from, is it FreePic? I can't remember where, but sites like FreePic will help you get some free mockups. If you can subscribe to a premium plan, that will be fine. But if you cannot, make do what you have. Be innovative. Try and modify already used mockups or modify images and use them as mockup. I know some people that actually take pictures with their phone and use the pictures as mockups. So that's something you can do. That's something you can do. So, guys, I hope you've been following and you learned one or two things. If you have any questions, you can type it in the comment section. But this is basically the final design in the presentation. Basically, as you can see, it's about expressing the brand as it relates to their industry. So here I even did a collaboration with Nike and then made one of their shoes, part of the Gator brand. You play around with ideas and then see how they work and see how they don't work, but still do not be afraid to try things. This is called the Gatorizer, and who no go buy them, who no go like how you understand. So express the brand, create shapes, images that properly tell what the brand is all about. So hope this tutorial was helpful. Cheers, guys.